We're all about ancient mysteries on this channel. The hunt for strange, unexplained discoveries from the past never gets old, and luckily it never lets us down either. Every time we dig into history, we come back with something wilder, older, and more confusing than before. This video is stacked with riddles from the ancient world, some just a few centuries old, others going back thousands of years. So stick around because in today's lineup, we're diving into 15 of the most amazing and mysterious archaeological finds that still leave experts scratching their heads. Number 15. The Undeciphered Cretan Hieroglyphs. When the Rosetta Stone helped us crack Egyptian hieroglyphs, it opened a window into an entire civilization, but no such luck with the hieroglyphs of ancient Crete. Found in thousands of examples across the island and dating back over 4,000 years, these mysterious symbols remain completely undeciphered. Some researchers think they're tied to the Minoans, but since the Minoan language itself hasn't been decoded, it's like trying to solve a puzzle with missing pieces and no box image to help. Over 800 distinct symbols have been identified, and some scholars believe they represent full phrases or syllables. But without a Rosetta-style breakthrough, it's all guesswork. They briefly coexisted with Linear A, another undeciphered script, and then vanished completely. Today, these symbols are treated like linguistic ghosts, echoes of people who left behind everything except a way to understand them. Efforts to crack the code continue, but so far, not even the brightest minds have figured out how to speak the language of Bronze Age Crete. Number 14. The Enigma of the White City. In the Mosquitia jungle of Honduras, archaeologists believe they found the fabled White City, a place whispered about for centuries by the region's indigenous groups. Since 2016, excavations have unearthed ceremonial stone thrones, intricately carved jars, and stylized animal motifs, notably jaguars and birds, etched into artifacts that are at least 500 to 1,000 years old. But unlike many of Honduras's ruins, these don't appear to be Mayan. The artistic style is different, the building layout is unique, and the materials are unfamiliar. Right at the heart of the site sits a massive carved stone seat, likely used during rituals or leadership ceremonies. The name White City probably stems from the bright limestone found nearby, while the City of the Monkey God moniker comes from colonial-era accounts, though nobody really knows what it referred to. It's a place rich in relics but lacking written records. Until more is found, the White City remains just that, an outline in stone, with its builders and meaning still buried beneath the jungle floor. Number 13. The Kapilakaya Tomb of Turkey. Well, it's not double that Göbekli Tepe gets most of the fame, but this tomb in northern Turkey is just as jaw-dropping if you can even find it. Carved into a mountain near Çorum, this tomb hides behind nature's camouflage. The entrance is subtle, almost like the mountain is trying to keep it secret. Step inside, though, and you'll find a massive, cube-shaped chamber that leaves no doubt about its importance. No one on Earth knows who's buried here. One theory suggests it belonged to a Hellenistic military commander named Ezos because that name is scratched on the wall. But who's to say someone didn't vandalize the place centuries later? What's not in question is the craftsmanship. Hollowing out a perfect stone cube in a mountain over 2,000 years ago would have required ridiculous precision and resources. Yet there it is, anonymous and epic, with no clear history to tie it down. All we know is that someone wanted to be remembered forever, ironically, without leaving us the details that could have made that possible. Number 12. The Basilica of the Unknown Martyr. Just look at this beautiful piece of art. In 2019, while prepping land for a housing development near Beit Shemesh, Israeli archaeologists uncovered something no blueprint could predict: a sprawling Byzantine basilica buried just beneath the surface. Its intricate mosaics, delicate glasswork, and expansive layout hinted at a place of major significance. An inscription within the ruins reveals the church was dedicated to a glorious martyr, yet not a single clue exists about who this person was. For a structure of such scale, larger than most churches of its time, not to preserve the name of its honoree feels strange. The complex once welcomed waves of pilgrims, even into the early Islamic period. It covered more than 5,000 square feet and had an open courtyard, suggesting its doors were always busy. Still, the identity of the martyr remains blank. No inscription, no relic. Just a missing name beneath all that stone and stained glass, reminding us how even grand monuments can outlive the stories they were built to remember. Number 11. The Roman Puzzle Lock Ring. At first glance, it looks like a chunky ring or maybe some forgotten Roman trinket, but this is no ordinary jewelry. It's a Roman puzzle lock ring, and it's basically the ancient world's answer to secure packaging. Found in the River Rhine in 2017, it dates back nearly 2,000 years and may have been used to lock bags or tiny containers, preventing tampering during transport. The clever bit, the puzzle, only the sender and receiver knew how to unlock it, everyone else would be stuck guessing. Some models even included fake compartments or hidden keys just to mess with would-be thieves. These rings were more than tools, they were trust encrypted in metal. There's even a theory that the Romans borrowed the concept from earlier Celtic designs, proving that creative security wasn't born in the digital age. As the Roman Empire faded, these rings disappeared too, leaving behind relics of an era that took secrecy very seriously. Number 10. The Catacomb Saint. Just look at this dude. Does it scare you? Hidden beneath layers of silk, velvet, and jewels, the bones of an unnamed Roman martyr were sent north in the 17th century as relics, sacred replacements for lost saints during the Protestant Reformation. One such skeleton found its final resting place in Waldsassen, Germany, delicately posed inside a glass coffin. Every finger glitters with gold. The skull wears a crown. Gemstones are pressed into joints and stitched into garments. This wasn't mockery. It was reverence shaped through excess. The bones were believed to be holy. Decorating them wasn't just permitted, it was expected. Churches wanted presence, proof, and spectacle. But beneath the embroidery, the identity of the saint was unknown. Not even a name remained. Just bones passed from Rome to Bavaria, transformed into a spectacle of devotion. What the church once needed to inspire awe now stands in glass, offering something else entirely. A strange mix of faith and performance, of anonymity wrapped in grandeur, where the body meant everything, even as the story behind it quietly disappeared. Number 9. The Wine Press and the Miniature Church. You wouldn't expect a city with such a turbulent past to still whisper secrets this quietly, but Ashkelon did just that in 2013, and it's pretty amazing and mysterious. As archaeologists brushed away the sands of southern Israel, they uncovered a massive wine press, a beast of a structure covering over 300 square feet. It had everything: tread floors, ceramic vats, and a perfectly intact pressing bed. But just a few feet away, they stumbled on something far more delicate. A tiny ceramic church, smaller than a child's fist, complete with a handle and a hollowed interior. Some believe it once cradled a flickering oil lamp, casting a cross-shaped shadow against the walls of a 1500-year-old home. The placement near the press hints at a strange intersection: labor and faith, industry and devotion. Maybe it belonged to a worker. Maybe it was dropped during a blessing. Whatever its origin, the contrast is haunting: one built to produce, the other meant to inspire, and yet both survived, side by side, untouched by time's chaos. Number 8. Olmec Ritual Reliefs. Down in Tenos, Mexico, where the sun scorches the soil and ruins fight the jungle to stay visible, archaeologists in 2022 uncovered 2 enormous limestone reliefs that stirred more than just dust. Each 5-foot disc portrayed ancient Olmec rulers, contorted in poses that weren't decorative, they were deliberate. These twisted postures were believed to cut off oxygen flow, sending the subject into trance-like states, a sacred surrender to visions. The rulers wear elaborate diadems and mirrored chest plates marked with Olmec crosses, symbols pulsing with power, mysticism, and pride. Nearby, the Usumacinta River hums, the same river that likely nourished the very civilization that carved these slabs nearly 2,900 years ago. Some scholars whisper that early Mayan influence can be traced in the style, though not everyone's ready to accept that claim. Still, it's hard not to imagine hands chipping away at stone while minds danced with the divine. The reliefs weren't just art, they were gateways to something bigger, something they believed could only be reached through transformation of the flesh and spirit alike. Number 7. Pre-Incan mummies in Peru. At the Camacha archaeological site just outside Lima, Peru, researchers recently uncovered a group of 14 remarkably preserved pre-Incan mummies, believed to be between 800 and 1,000 years old. 6 of the bodies belonged to children, while the remaining 8 were adults, only 2 of whom were female. There's speculation that the group may represent multiple generations of one family, but there's another theory, one far more unsettling. Some archaeologists believe these individuals might have been sacrificed to accompany an elite figure to the afterlife. A royal tomb was found nearby in 2021, adding weight to the idea. However, the presence of burial items like ceramic vessels, calabashes, and weaving tools complicates that theory. Human sacrifices weren't usually buried with personal belongings. If these people were servants in life or kin to someone powerful, they might have been buried as part of a family rite, not killed as offerings. In Andean belief, death was a gateway, not an end. Alright guys, now let's talk about Number 6. The Terracotta Warriors' Secret Chamber. Everyone knows the Terracotta Army, the eternal soldiers of China's first emperor, but even now, not all of them have been counted. Deep beneath the emperor's mausoleum in Xi'an, archaeologists stumbled across a sealed chamber that had somehow escaped centuries of looting, water damage, and curious shovels. Inside, miniature warriors, far more detailed than the rank and file outside. Each face seemed hand-sculpted to resemble real people, not generic soldiers. Some wore armor with etchings too fine for battle, more ceremonial than practical. This wasn't just another battalion. It looked like an elite squad meant to serve a different purpose, perhaps the emperor's soul rather than his legacy. Traces of mercury lined the walls, echoing ancient texts that spoke of rivers of liquid metal in his tomb. No switches were triggered, no deadly traps were sprung. Just silence and stillness, broken only by the breath of those who found it. This chamber wasn't made to be seen again, and yet it waited, unmoving, untouched, perfectly patient. Number 5. The Giant of Aitape. On the northern coast of Papua New Guinea, geologists studying ancient tsunami deposits found something unusual in 1998. Mixed into the sediment was a fossilized fragment of a human femur, unremarkable until measured. The bone was too large, too thick, and too long for any known modern human. At full size, the individual it belonged to would have stood far above average, possibly over 8 feet tall. But unlike legends or exaggerations, this was real bone, tested and dated. No complete skeleton was found. No matching remains are nearby, just this one bone, surrounded by layers of silt left by a prehistoric tsunami. Was it an extreme case of gigantism? A member of an unknown population? The locals have stories, giants who once roamed the hills, driven off by flood and fire. The femur doesn't confirm those tales, but it doesn't dismiss them either. It sits quietly in storage now, an outlier. Too human to ignore, too strange to categorize. And as always, alone. What do you think about it? Well, let us know. Number 4. Roman mosaic found beneath a vineyard. In the hills north of Verona, under the quiet soil of a working vineyard, archaeologists uncovered a brilliantly preserved Roman mosaic floor, untouched since antiquity. The site was first flagged back in 1922 when traces of Roman artifacts were noted, but no proper excavation followed. Nearly a century later, digging a few feet deeper revealed elaborate tile work once belonging to a sprawling Roman villa. The imagery, vibrant birds, vines, and fruit, is still visible in places, despite the centuries of roots and weather pressing down on it. But there's a catch. The land is part of a working agricultural commune. Excavating further would mean disrupting the vineyard's operations, which complicates permission, funding, and future plans. It's possible the full layout of the villa may never be exposed. For now, the mosaic remains mostly hidden under rows of grapevines, a layer of forgotten history below a very modern crop. Whether by neglect or necessity, the past here stays buried, colorful fragments preserved under green and silence. Number 3. The Geta Lion of Ethiopia. Perched on Chikabarat Hill in Ethiopia, the Get Lion, or in short, the G Lion, is a carved mystery that has defied interpretation for over 150 years. Discovered in 1843, it's unclear whether the sculpture is supposed to represent a literal lion or something more symbolic, perhaps akin to the Sphinx. It's carved from stone and marked with 3 monograms, one of which is a Christian cross. That might suggest a 4th century origin tied to Ethiopia's early Christian roots, but it could just as easily mean the statue was repurposed long after it was built. The truth, nobody knows. Even worse, time hasn't been kind. Tourists have clambered over it for generations, wearing down details and making dating the sculpture even harder. It's strange, Ethiopia reveres lions as a national symbol, yet no other statue like this has been found. One-off relic? Lost tradition? Either way, the G lion remains alone, its silent stare daring historians to make sense of what it's been guarding since, well, whenever it decided to show up. Number 2. The Siberian mummified creature. What is this thing? That's the first question that we ask when we look at it. Miners in Siberia stumbled upon a body twisted in decay, its form stuck somewhere between reptile and mammal. Small, limbed, snout-like, with scaly remnants still clinging to its skin. The initial response was confusion, followed by speculation. Some thought it might be a rare species. Others, something ancient, displaced by decades of disrupted terrain. The Earth it came from was dated to be over 180 million years old, but the land had once been blasted by a massive explosion to make way for mining expansion. Whatever tectonic shift unearthed this, it wasn't subtle. That complicated the timeline. Paleontologists couldn't agree on what they were looking at, if it was dinosaurian, mammalian, or something transitional. The press took it further, calling it a monster. It isn't, but it is rare, and no match has ever been confirmed. It may belong to a known species with strange development, or it may be alone in the fossil record, a leftover from a version of life that didn't take root. Number 1. Saka warrior burial. Beneath 1,000 years of soil in Suane Taka Visitorninmaki, a grave revealed a mystery that defied all expected categories. The person buried there wore traditional female clothing. Alongside them lay not one but 2 swords, one finely decorated. For decades, the assumption was that this was a symbolic burial or a mistake in gendered artifact placement. In 2021, DNA testing changed everything. The skeleton carried an extra X chromosome, identifying them as biologically XXY Kellenfelter syndrome. In modern terms, this person likely had physical traits of both sexes. In their own time, they were not hidden, ridiculed, or erased. They were buried with honor and weapons, not as an outlier, but as someone fully included. This wasn't a curiosity. It was respect carved in earth and iron. The burial wasn't meant to confuse, it was meant to be remembered, a figure of complexity given no less than the tools of war and the garments of tradition. In silence, the grave offered no explanation. It didn't need one. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.